everyone, it's Sam here at Model Chili Scale Models, and I'm finally back after what seems like a far too long absence after I moved out of my old house, staying with family, getting a new job, and I'm finally in my new place, and I've got everything set up, so I'm really excited to get back into the swing of things and start getting some videos up on YouTube. And I thought I would start off with a relatively easy kit, as it says on the box, a Revell Droid Tri-Fighter. Now this is going to be a really easy kit since it's all painted up, so what I'll be doing is just slapping it all together and doing some weathering. So let's start by having a look inside the box. So this is quite an older kit, but I bought it a few months ago at Christchurch Armageddon, which is a big convention here, and it was relatively cheap, although I managed to haggle it down a bit further. And anyone who watches my channel will know that I'm a big fan of the prequels, and after playing a lot of Battlefront 2 lately, it was just something that I was quite keen to pick up at the time. I'm not sure how old it is exactly. There's probably a date. Oh yeah, 2005, so it is quite old. And there's also a whole range of Revell Easy Kits. I've already done the Venator class Star Destroyer. I've actually got Obi-Wan's Jedi Interceptor, or is it Starfighter? Either one of those. But yeah, I'd quite like to get my hands on some of these other ones as well. Right, so we've got instructions, fairly basic, no painting guide, since it's all pre-molded and pre-painted, plastic. Looks like painted, yeah, all painted on. So it's pretty much just a snap together kit and you're done. But I think we can make this a whole lot better with a bit of weathering, a bit of a wash, some paint chipping, and a final flat coat. We'll make this look somewhat a bit more realistic, hopefully. Yeah, so fairly simple. There's not too many parts. Some of the missiles there. Buzz droids, maybe. Central transparent sphere thingy. And this, I'm not too up to scratch on droid technology, but this is maybe the central droid or brain or whatever it is. Alright, so let's get it out of the plastic and start putting it together. Alright, so although this is a snap together kit, you can see here there are some parts that don't fit together perfectly, which I'm going to want to join up, just with a little bit of Tamiya extra thin cement, which is just a normal styrene glue. I'm just going to brush it on to the seam. and then push it together for a bit, and then that should just set nice and shut. Well, it's cool that they added a little paint application to the end of the laser cannon there, just to indicate a bit of depth. I'm just going to go a bit further with the pin vise and just drill in a little hole at the end there, just to give it a little bit more realism. Sometimes it can be a bit tricky trying to get the exact middle point of a small surface area when you're trying to drill, and often the drill can kind of drift and you end up just sort of gouging a big chunk out of the side of it. So for this, what I've done is I've just got the knife, which is a really fine point, and just tried to make out the center point just by eyeballing it. Jab it in and then just sort of lightly twist to make a bit of a gouge, and that way I can be sure that it's right in the middle, just to give the drill something to bite onto that's in the middle of the surface that I want to drill out of. So that's just a little tip if you're struggling to get a drill right into the middle of something. Alright, so there we have 3 laser blasters with holes in the end, and that'll hold a dark wash quite nicely and just make them look a bit more realistic than flat painted ends. I'm also going to do the same for the middle front laser, which kind of looks like a mosquito proboscis, which will be much more apparent when it's finally put together. And finally I'm going to drill out the rockets out of these missiles. Alright, so there it is all put together, and I didn't realise that this was a huge big gyroscope. It's spinning that way and spinning this way, so that's pretty cool. Although there are some pretty large gaps and seams in the sphere there. There's probably not much I can do about that on clear plastic. But what I'm going to do with these little nicks and chips is incorporate those into the weathering and the chipping. So that's just where I've had to clean up extra sprue. You can see on the back there some little chips in the paint. So I'm just going to use those to my advantage and add them to the weathering process. And yeah, so overall it's pretty sturdy. Clamps into the front headpiece and the back there, so none of this is glued together. It's all just secured in its various fittings. And so now what I'm going to do is start some paint chipping. Okay, so the first step is to match the base grey colour, and I've found Vallejo's, not that one, Vallejo's 71120 Dark Ghost Grey is a pretty good match. It's slightly lighter, but for the chipping I think it'll work okay. And so what I've done is I've just put a bit down on some tape, and I've just got a slice of sponge. I'm just going to make a kind of a rough shape at the end, then soak up the paint. Dab a bit out so I've not got too much. And just go around and apply some chipped spots. Alright, so now with the chipping done, I'm going to use the same technique but with black, just for a bit more flavour. So this is just general weathering and scoring and scorching and little things like that. Although this will be a bit lighter than the chipping layer, just because I don't want to overdo it. And now with a toothpick, I'm just going to scratch away some of the paint just to clean up some of these more blobby patches and just help refine some of the chipping and black marks. Alright, so now I'm going to apply a wash to bring out some of the detail in these recessed areas. And for that I'm just using Vallejo's Model Wash Light Grey. After a bit of a shake, Just going to apply that straight with the brush. Into some of these recesses. I'm not going to do the whole vehicle like I do sometimes. So I just don't think it needs it, and saves me time on the cleanup. And I've left the wash to set for a few hours, and now I've just got some acrylic thinner on the end of a cotton bud, and I'm just going to clean up some of the excess so you can see some areas here where the wash has just settled on the surface, and I want to get rid of those and just leave it in the gaps in between. And with the weathering done, I'm going to do a final clear coat of Vallejo's Model Air matte varnish. Alright, so there we have one completed Revell Droid Tri-Fighter. And it's been a fun little build, even if it has been super basic. It does kind of lean more towards a toy than a scale model. And in that case it's very similar to the U-Wing that I did a couple of years ago, which was basically the same. You just slap it together and then do a bit of weathering and a bit of chipping. But it's been fun doing all the paint applications, trying to make it look a bit more realistic. It doesn't come with a stand or anything, it just kind of sits on these missiles, which are a bit wonky. And yeah, I've added a bit more realistic things like the holes in the laser blasters. And yeah, I'm pretty sure this clear plastic in the middle isn't supposed to be there. According to some references that I've looked at, I think it's just supposed to be just empty in there, just with a sphere right in the middle. So I'm not quite sure why they've gone for this smoked tinted look, but it still looks kind of cool, and it is what it is. We're kind of really limited on options for these prequel ships. Bandai seem to be stuck on the original and sequel trilogies, but it's cool that Revell did these, even if it was over a decade ago. At least we've got an option as opposed to no option, so I can't complain too much. And yeah, so I just wanted something that was quick and easy, and something that got me into the swing of things, back into the swing of things at least. So I hope it's been a little bit fun watching. I know it's not been quite as detailed or as involved as some of my other builds, but I'll be getting back into those soon now that I've got the space and the time to do all that. So keep an eye out for my next future build. And until then, thanks for watching, and take care.